I'm super excited for today's video. One, my hair kind of looks a little bit of a mess, just a little bit. I literally just curled it and it just looks so all over the place. So I don't really do a side part that much anymore, but it looks like we're doing a side part today. So surprisingly, on my YouTube channel, I have never discussed books on here, which is literally so surprising because if you know me personally, you know how much I literally love books. I'm reading all the time, and so I decided to do a new once a month video on my channel, which I have just decided that at the end of every month I'm going to recap what I read this month and tell you guys about it. Well, not like tell you guys about it, but like say my rating, kind of give a little synopsis, what I think about the book, what I rate it. And I'm not like, this isn't like my idea. A lot of people watch this. If you guys are on BookTube, literally every booktuber does this video, and I'm not in any way a booktuber, but it is something that I'm very passionate about. I really love it. I recommend a lot of books to people, and I'm a very avid Goodreads account, and it's just something that's like a really big part of my life that I was surprised I haven't shared on my YouTube channel, so I'm doing that now. So if you guys like book content, then this video will be up once a month on my channel, which I'm super excited to do. So let's just get into it. This is the first book that I read in 2021. So this is In 5 Years by Rebecca Serle. I don't know the last name, but basically this book is just about, she's so obsessed with numbers. Like, she has plans for her life. I want to do this in this many years. You know, I feel like a lot of people are like that, like in this many years I want to be doing this, which is so good, but also sometimes it can be so suffocating and not good for you to do that. But basically she was just one of those people, had their life planned out for them. Like, everything from a child was planned out for how she wanted it to be. And then one day she has a dream that just completely changes everything basically, and you kind of just follow her through like what she wanted her life to be like, and then all of a sudden she has this dream and like she second guesses everything, but then wants to she's holding on to the life that she's always planned so bad. And you know, life's going to always turn out the way life does. So I think it's an interesting book. I really liked it for the storyline. Like, it was something that I hadn't really read before, if that makes any sense. And I'm also trying to pull up where I rated this because I can't remember the rating that I gave this. So it says that I gave this a 4 out of 5, which I feel like I gave it a 4 out of 5 just because overall the story was really good to me. I really liked it. There were some parts though that didn't make this a 5 was some parts got a little boring, and sometimes I just wish the story would move a little faster, even though this honestly isn't really a long book at all. I read this in a day as I do most books. But I did enjoy the storyline. I really enjoyed the characters in it, and I liked how it kind of gave you a new perspective on life. Like, you know, I'm someone who also likes to plan my life. I like to think ahead on what my future would look like, which is good. It's always good to be goal oriented, but it's like, don't focus so much on the future that you aren't enjoying the present. And I really like that about this book, because sometimes I feel like books just land in your lap at the time that you need to hear that stuff. Because, you know, me being stressed with college and what the rest of my life will look like after graduating, this was a super fun book to kind of read and put stuff in perspective for me. I don't even need to look up the rating for this next book. So this is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and this is by V.E. Schwab. And oh my god, so basically I'm on BookTube and I'm on BookTok. So this was recommended to me one day. This girl, I had seen her video and she talked about this, and usually, honestly, this kind of reminds me a little bit of historical fiction, even though they're not really talking about specific events in history that happened, but it's still kind of taking you through those eras and everything, if that makes any sense. And I am not that person. Oh my god, let me just go on a rant for a second. Everyone loves the Song of Achilles, and I'm not into Greek mythology, so I feel like I would not get it and I would not be attached to it the way everyone else is. So I haven't read it yet, but it's a book that I want to read, but I feel like I wouldn't be into it. So it's kind of hard, and that's kind of how I went in about this book. I was like, this girl like loves this book, and some of it, the story just so screamed out to me that I would really love it, and I did. Oh my god, I gave this a 5 out of 5 because it is in every way. I love the writing, I love the story, I love the details, I love everything. It's heartbreakingly beautiful, and I literally love when books are like that, even though, you know, it's heartbreaking, but it's beautiful at the same time, and it's just so cute and perfect. So basically about this, The Secret Life of Addie LaRue, The Invisible Life, did I say The Secret? The Invisible. Anyway, it's basically about the main character, Addie LaRue, as we can all guess, and she basically is just living this life, 1700s, and basically she makes a deal with the devil, essentially. That's what he is. And all of a sudden, there's this curse on her life. So as she makes this, she realizes that no one will ever remember her. So basically, you see her and you're like, oh my God, like, so everyone that knew her no longer remembers her, and then you see her, but as soon as you turn your back or walk out the door or fall asleep, you no longer remember her. So she lives forever, but she's forever forgotten, which is so, like, such a hard thing to live with. But basically one day she meets someone who remembers her, and so it's so beautiful. I really love the story. I love that it goes back and forth from timelines, and I love the journey that it really takes you through within her life and all of the struggles and stuff with having to deal with this curse, and it's so good. I really recommend you guys to read this if you guys haven't. It is amazing. I'm just gonna go with 1984 by George Orwell. I'm just gonna be honest, I am not a classics reader. I honestly just enjoy books to enjoy books, and I feel like no one should cast judgment on, like, me not wanting to read classics. Now, there are some classics that I genuinely just want to read because they just sound like good stories, but I will never force myself to read a classic book because I feel like I would be judged for liking books, but I haven't read a classic, if that makes any sense. This was not my own decision. I had to read this for my literature class, and I'm pretty sure I gave this a 2 out of 5. Now, because I was reading this for a class, I had to dissect this book. You guys see some post-it notes in here. I had to write very many journals about this book and dissect what it was saying and get the bigger meaning and get what they meant by this and this and this. So I definitely dissected this book way more than I would dissect a normal book that I'm reading, but I just did not enjoy it. I did not enjoy reading this book. There was just too much in it that was kind of off for me, and also just the whole entire overview of it didn't hit it for me. I don't really enjoy this writing, even though I know George Orwell is a great writer. He's amazing. He has so many classics, so many hits, but I just did not genuinely enjoy this book. Did not enjoy it, so that's all I'll say about it. Now we'll go with Jo and Laurie. I don't know what I gave this. I gave this a 2 as well. I just did not enjoy it the way I thought I would. So basically, everyone's read Little Women, and if you haven't, I'm sorry that I'm going to spoil this for you, I guess. So if you haven't read it and want to read it, just skip over this part of this video. But, you know, I feel like there's a lot of people that really just wanted Jo and Laurie together, and I was one of those people. I'm no longer one of those people, because after reading this book, it almost puts into perspective for me why they were not put together in the first place. Like, just leave it where it was. You know what I'm saying? And so it was cute. It was cute to read, like, someone else's retelling of what they feel like would have been after, you know, Jo released her novel, and how her and Laurie would have been and what would have happened. But the writing wasn't the best. The story just wasn't that compelling. It just really wasn't it for me. So I didn't really like this book. The next book is The Two Lives of Lydia Bird. Oh my God, I cried within the first few pages. And I'm going to say it only because it's quite literally in the synopsis and the whole entire point of the book. It is about Lydia Bird, and her fiance dies on her birthday. You see why I was crying? I mean, genuinely, let me tell you, there was a specific point in the book. Again, this is not spoiling it. This is just like a specific part that I started crying, because this is genuinely one of my worst fears, is like losing a significant other, because like, how could your life go on after that? She talks about the whole entire like first few pages of the book is taking you through the stages of grief in such a fast and compelling way that I'm like, oh my God. And she basically is talking about how her mom, she was just bedridden, you know, like couldn't get off. Like, well, wouldn't sleep in the bed. Anyway, she was on the couch, and her mom tells her, I washed the bed sheets for you, blah, blah, blah. And she just has a whole entire breakdown because she didn't want to lay in the bed, but that was, you know, it still had everything on him, like everything of him on the bed. And she didn't want to wash the sheets, and she did. And she just kind of broke down in front of the washer washing just every inch of him wash away off the sheets, which was so heartbreaking. And then to describe the accident and to describe her birthday and the last moments with him was so sad. And I cried all the time. All the time throughout this book I cried. Because it's just basically taking you through. She has trouble sleeping after the incident because she's just so heartbroken, and they give her this medication to help her sleep. So when she's asleep, she's living in this alternate world that she's imagined with him, but then when she's awake, she's living her real life. It's a nice story. I really liked it even though I cried. It was so good to kind of live through years of going through grief and seeing how your life can change and seeing how people around you and everything. The reason I gave this a 4 though was because there were some parts that I was like, let's move a little faster through this, which is stupid to me to think because of my grief moves at a slow pace, honestly. And so, but there's just some parts where I was like, I feel like this isn't really needed. But it was a really good book. It was so cute and I loved it. The last book that I read this month is one of the saddest books in the book community, I guess. And God, I gave this a 5 out of 5. I gave this a 5 out of 5, but I was so disappointed that I didn't have the reaction that everyone else did. Like when I watched Noelle Gallagher, I watched so many other YouTubers talk about this book and they were sobbing. They were sobbing. And not that I wanted that experience, that's not why I read the book. But usually if a book causes someone to actually be that emotional reading it, I really like it because I like when there's really emotion. You can feel emotion through the pages. Anyway. I didn't cry once reading this, but when I looked back on it and when I thought about this book, I should have. I almost felt a little numb. Like when everything kind of started happening, I was like, that book is a little life. This book is like 800 pages. I read it within like 3 to 4 days. I don't know. Holy crap. So here's the thing about this book. It's a 5 out of 5 for me, and I don't want to recommend it, if that makes any sense. This book does have extremely triggering things that happen in it. There's a lot of talk of kind of triggering discussions and everything, like from anywhere on the spectrum. I feel like there's just anything in this book that can trigger somebody. It's basically following the life of 4 college roommates. And it's a really strong friendship. And it is just so good. So good. I loved every second of reading this book. I wish I could read it again for the first time. I never really had a book that I thought, I wish I could erase the memory of reading this and read it again and feel everything for the first time again. But this is one of those books. I feel like I did feel that a little bit for Where the Crawdads Sing because that was also a really amazing book. But this book was just so good. But like I said, I don't want to recommend it because there are a lot of triggering things and it is sad. And like I said, I didn't cry, but I can see why people cried. And like I said, after I kind of sat and thought about it, I was like, I would have totally cried, but I just felt numb to everything that was going on. When you talk about so many heavy subjects in a book, it just kind of turns my feelings a little bit numb towards it. So I felt it afterwards. And I still haven't written my review about this yet because I really have to think about this book. This book is amazing. And you almost get so attached to these characters thinking they are real people, and they're not. And I love when authors can do that, when you get so attached to a character and think they're real, but they're not. And this is such a good book. But like I said, it's so hard to recommend it because Noelle Gallagher, when she made her video about this, she hit the nail on the head. Hit the head on the nail. Whatever, whichever one that is. That it's almost like me recommending it to you would feel like for lack of a better word, a cult. Like everyone just wants to feel the feelings that this book brings, and that's not why I got it. It was just because even though it was so emotional for people, they just talk about how amazing this book's writing was, which it is, and that's why I wanted to get this book. And it's amazing, every part of it. It's awesome, it's amazing, I love it so much. And if you want to read this book, read it at your own risk because there are very heavy subjects in this book, but it is amazing, like I said. That is all. That is all the books I read in January. So if you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up down below and do comment down below and tell me if you enjoyed this video. I really loved watching people talk about books and recommending books, different things that you guys may not read. And I'm always open for book recommendations, so you can always leave those down below or DM me. My Instagram is des.sidster on Instagram. You guys can totally talk to me about books on there. I'm so open to it, and if you guys want to see maybe more content surrounding this, I can do it. But right now I was just planning on doing one of these at the end of every month to kind of tell you guys what I'm reading. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys liked me, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell at the side to be notified whenever I upload videos. And I will see you guys when I see you. Peace. Read a book or two. Who knows? See you next time.